Hey everybody, welcome to Uninterrupted, the cybersecurity podcast from Forbes Cybersecurity and IT Services. So today I want to talk to you about one of the biggest scourges that's going on in the world of cybersecurity right now, and that's business email compromise. But I specifically want to look at it from an Office 365 perspective and how to prevent this from happening. So we have a lot of things that we're doing that we're looking for how to find out when a bad guy gets into a network, and then how a bad guy gets into an Office 365 environment, find out that they're there, look for indicators of compromise, and then kick them out and recover from that situation. But that's after we've already let somebody in. And so I have people often like, how do I prevent this from happening in the first place? And when we look at the NIST cybersecurity framework, we see governance is under everything. But we also have identify, know what you have, protect what you can, and then something bad has happened. And then how do you detect that unauthorized access or behavior, respond and recover from that situation? So we're doing things, but the logs can be delayed for Office 365 when we're looking just to detect that something happened. So what will happen is a threat actor will use business email compromise or use some kind of other phishing, and they'll send out an email to somebody that has a high confidence for somebody to click on. They click on a link or attachment, and then they steal the session token. They do some way to trick the user into putting in their credentials, and then they steal that cookie that's saved on their computer that has the username, password, and multi-factor authentication that says, hey, I am who I am who I say I am, and you can trust this computer and let it continue connecting into this Office 365 environment. And so what happens right now is, if I look at this diagram here, how do I prevent that from happening? So here I have a trusted environment, and then I have an untrusted environment. And Office 365 in this scenario is allowed to log in from any of these locations. So if I'm on my Office network and I'm on my trusted environment and somebody's on their computer and they click over and they give that session token away, well, then a threat actor can go on the internet side and log that in from their computer that's over on the internet side here. And then it authenticates into Office 365 and says, yeah, you're who you say you are. It doesn't know that the location that you came from is different or any of that stuff. It's not looking for that. It's just saying, hey, your computer who you say it is, and it's allowed to connect here. It does that, though, because sometimes people don't have static IP addresses on their network. Their IP addresses change, and so Office 365 doesn't know from one moment to the next what IP address they're going to log into, so it has to allow from the internet. Or they're traveling and they're moving around to different locations, and so their IP addresses will change there, so it has to say, okay, well, we need to let it through from everybody in order to allow ease of access. And so how do we fight this, and what does this look for you, and how, maybe why you would want to and maybe not want to consider doing this on your network? So here's a situation that we are locking down the Office 365 environment, and you have to connect to a secure location, whether that's your Office network or in this case, SASE. And SASE is basically a modern always-on VPN where we can say, okay, these are the two locations your devices need to connect to in order to authenticate into the Office 365 environment. So why don't we have a lot of companies doing this? This really locks things down and makes it so that even if somebody gives their session token away and there tries to be connection out from the internet over here to Office 365, if it's not going through the SASE connection, Office 365 is not allowing any logins that don't come from the Office network or 365. So even if a user does give away their session token, they give away that authentication information, they're not going to be able to log into the environment. This creates some hardship, though, sometimes for the end user. You have to have the SASE solution on all the PCs and the cell phones, right? If you want some device to connect into Office 365, then you need to have your secure network on that device. And so what SASE does is, whether you're on a laptop or your cell phone, wherever you're traveling to, your device is connected through this. It's connected through the secure firewall that you keep with you. It gives me a consistent IP address to connect to the Office 365 environment, and then I can lock that down really fully and say, okay, even if somebody gives away their credential, we're now going to protect this and say, okay, well, that doesn't matter because they're not from an approved location. They can't get in. This really closes the lid on that business email compromise or email account takeover that would potentially happen on your network, but it does cause hardship for your users. There has to be certain things that are done for your users in order to say, hey, what if I'm not on my network? What if I lose connection to my SASE? What are those sorts of things? Your IT has to know how to mitigate that. Your users have to know what to do in order to get connected. And your company has to make policies and say, hey, we are not going to let a connection happen from a device that's not in our management. We're not going to let a device, people bring their own devices or use things that aren't meeting a minimum cybersecurity standard before they connect to this thing. And we're seeing this all the time. Hackers are attacking Office 365 because that's now moving to where a lot of the data is. Even if people aren't fully using Office 365 for their data storage and they have internal file servers and those items still, we see data that is in people's OneDrives. We see access to email. We see historical records that are kept in email. We see all these things that the hackers are really hammering email like crazy. Business email compromise went from really like once a quarter at the beginning of 2024 to now it's really weekly that we're seeing places get business email compromised, and it's one of the largest threat vectors that's going on the internet right now. And this is really how you put a clamp down to it and do it. But you have to have the right things, right considerations. It's conversation with your IT, it's conversation with your cybersecurity company and saying, hey, what's the security level that we're looking for and the usability? So if I look over here, and I'll go over to my lab Office 365 environment. Right now I have a allow only trusted locations thing here. It's set up that there's specific users in here. It's set to block access. Right now it's in report only mode, but you set it up. So you set these network locations that are good. You set the target resources. So this is log into the cloud apps, all those sorts of things. And you can set users to include and exclude. So right now I have all users included, but I also have an exclude here for my administrator account that's on this thing. That's my admin for this, so I don't lock out my admin. You can have those sorts of things of included and excluded. So you can make a group that says, hey, I want this kind of access really, really locked down only for certain people. So we can do a thing here with say, if you're in a non-critical user group, then you're able to access these resources. But if you are in a critical user, then you need to go through the SASE connection in order to get in. That's going to depend on what data those users have access to, what data in their Office 365 environments, all those sorts of things. We're doing this a lot of the time regardless with the admin accounts of people's Office 365 environments, as we're really limiting them down of where they can get access to or increasing their security level on that. But there's some items that go on from there. So this is conditional access. You need to have a certain licensing from Microsoft to do this. Normally Business Premium is what a lot of people have. That's what we recommended for people to have, and it includes the licensing to allow you to do this. This also involves turning off the security defaults. Microsoft has security defaults that are on Office 365, almost every environment these days. That involves turning that off, and then what you do then is you copy over the existing security default policies that are there, but then you make higher level security policies that are able to give you more granularity and actually be more secure than what Microsoft is recommending out of the box. But it requires a conversation. These are things that you need to talk with your IT provider about. Find out what the use cases are. Find out which users should have it, which users should not. They need to have policies and procedures around this, workarounds, because it will impact your users slightly. We use it at Forbes. We have situations where somebody gets a new cell phone and they have to be bypassed from this secure network location to get their cell phone reconfigured, or maybe their computer loses the SASE environment, loses the software, and they need to get it re-added. Some items like that need to happen in order for people to get reconnected. But that's a conversation to have. But if you really are looking to prevent business email compromise, this is a great way to do it. We still have all the other detection, response, and recovery pieces on it, just in case something happens. But this is a good way to make sure that you and your business can stay safe. So if you have any questions about this, you want to reach out, go to our website, 4bis.com, fill out a contact us form. You follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, all those sorts of pieces. What's going to happen here is if you contact us, we're going to have a conversation. It's completely no risk. We're going to have a conversation about your IT and cybersecurity needs, and we're going to find out what's going on for you and what we can do to help make you more secure and better. So thanks. We'll talk soon. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Uninterrupted, a podcast from Forbes Cybersecurity. We hope you walked away with practical insights to protect your business and stay ahead of the latest cyber threats. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your colleagues. For more tips, resources, and cybersecurity updates, visit Forbes.com, that's 4bis.com, and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. We'll be back soon with another episode, so stay vigilant and stay uninterrupted.